Today at the WCB we're going to make some bolt tongs with Chris Madrid, national champion, WCB national champion, AFA national champion, and he's been competing with the WCB since we started in 2006. He's an all-around good guy, and he's going to give us the ins and outs of having to go. We're going to make bolt tongs, and they have some very specific specifications. They're going to be made out of one piece of 3/8 by 1, 18 inches long. We're going to put a head on both sides. This circle has to be 1 1/8 inches. That's a specification. 17 inches long, and they got to hold 5/8 tong on the diagonal. And to do it for us is my man Chris Madrid.
Thanks, thank you. Yeah, we'll make some 5/8 bolt jaw tongs. I want to thank Greg for the intro, and we'll get started marking our bar stock here. 18 inches of 3/8 by 1. I'm going to mark 1 inch on each end, and I need to make sure that I mark opposites, not the same side, because we're going to split down the middle and make 2 separate tongs. Come in here and find my mark at 1 inch. So I've marked this edge and the opposite edge at 1 inch, and that'll give me a starting point for my first heat right here to drop a top tool in. Come in here, find my mark. Here next. Just a mark here.
Hard?
Yeah. So you can see we've got our start. Okay, right here we're going to dislocate material for the boss. And it is easy to get this too narrow, so it is important that we don't overdo it. Right. Because if it is too narrow, it'll be a weak spot and could cause your tongs to spring. So I'm thinking of what I'm going to do on this next heat, and I'm going to come out and work on the gooseneck a little bit on the horn, and as the heat starts to go away, I'm going to punch a hole for a 3/8 rivet. One, easy. So right here we're splitting the reins. We'll probably just go halfway through, maybe a little bit more. One more.
Not going too fast?
We have our two pieces. We'll go ahead and start drawing this out. I've got one edge here that I need to get back into the section. So we'll forge it on edge. From cutting it, you get a sharp edge, so we'll forge that back in. Greg, me and you here. Let's just run this down. Now you could use a top tool to make that half round, but we're just going to use a hammer flatter.
Now you got something a little weak to hold on.
Because I can't hold on to it with tongs, I can only do so much before I burn my hand. Something to be aware of on this heat when you're drawing out this branch here is if you're hot on this end, it'll tend to whip back and forth depending on what you're doing up here. This will come up and down. So I kept it kind of cool because we already did the work there and I don't want to be having to worry about that.
I'll help you.
Now before I offset my reins, I've got to make sure that my hole is bisecting the back of my rein here. So I'm going to just drop it slightly. And that'll affect my hole a little bit, so we got to run up my punch through one last time before I put the offset. Okay, so I'm at a pretty good place here. I'm gonna come out and do an offset next heat, and it'll be ready to rasp up.
But you're gonna offset this
together.
way.
Yeah, I'll be dropping, shearing down, dropping my boss away from the ring. Same to this side. Make sure my hole is in line with my reins. And I'll come in here. One of the reins, I'm going to put a locking device. I'm pretty sure it's on this side. And what this will do is hold one side of the rivet in place, and so it'll articulate on the other side of the rivet. I have no articulation and the other boss will.
And that's so as the tongs start to wear, it only wears one side and they don't catch.
Yes. So I'm going to shear down my boss here. Easy. Come through here with my flatter, slight. It's nice to have everything flat in the boss area, especially to allow for articulation. If it's got any waves in it or anything, it'll bind. So we want to make sure it's nice and flat. So at this point, I'm going to rasp up my boss head and rein. First thing I start rasping is where my other rein is going to meet. That's my first order of business in my rasping process of the tong. So I'll come in here and make this smooth and half round to prevent any binding. Clean up my boss a little bit. Just make it uniform around the eye. Come in here with my half round. You can see I got all my edges. Make sure everything's smooth for articulation. Okay, at this point we have rasped up our tongs and we've tried to stay consistent with the forging because it is important to have a pair. So before I rivet these together, I want to make sure that they will articulate. And it is also important that when you rivet, if you have a locking device on one of your bosses, it is important that is the side that you rivet with your hammer, so that when it mushrooms over, it fills the gap and will actually lock. Okay, so we got good articulation. I think we're ready to go ahead and rivet these. And our heads aren't in too bad a shape. I can adjust those as we go. And I think we're set up pretty good here. We come out with our rivet, put it on there. I was taught to rivet in 3 hammer blows, but it takes me a little bit more. And I think we got her set up. So I'll get an overall heat and we will have to line up our heads there. And our final piece will be splitting the head for 5/8 square. come out to the very tip here, bring that around, make sure they articulate, and we're good there. Now you can make a jig, a round jig, or you can use the tip of the horn.
Alright, this little tool is made by Flatland Forge. It's just so you can hold it steady instead of a post vise. And it is a shameless plug for 432-563-8098. Operators are standing by now. Slices, dices, peels, makes wonderful julienne fries, and boy can it catch fish. Won't rust, stain, or tarnish unless soaked in salt water. Money back guarantee. And if you call now, you get the Ginsu knives for absolutely free. So operators are standing by, so come on, give it a try.
I'm just going to lightly mark this like I would do for foldering a horseshoe, just in case I have to move it. But I think we're somewhat good there. So the first splitter I use is real thin here. And then I will, next heat will come out and I'll open it up with a slightly wider splitter, slightly under 45 degrees, so that way I can open up to my 5/8 square on edge.
Alright, I think Royden was pretty smart whenever he set up the judging for this. They have 3 stipulations. They have to hold 5/8 square on the diagonal. He wants an 1.125" circle before the boss, and he wants some 17 inches for overall length. So we made a pair of tongs. Well, I didn't make a pair. Chris made a pair. But I think that they'll be easy to judge because all tongs will hold, and then you'll go to different specifications of the tongs that will get you all the way to the top tier and actually win the class.
Yeah, these are my first pair of practice tongs, so you know some of the things did not measure up, but my circle's not quite exact. And but the main thing was getting the basics. I think we have things in pretty good alignment, and as well our 5/8 fits pretty good. So at this point, I'd just like to thank Craig and the WCB for having me out to give a chance to help everybody out. And good luck practicing. This is, like I said, is my first practice, so I'll be continuing practicing, and things may evolve from now till Virginia, but hopefully I can make a pair somewhat of this quality.